Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Well, hello, everybody. This is another issue of the Mentor Podcast. This one is kind of unusual because I'm actually the one being interviewed by Debbie Waters on our staff. It's all about seller financing because of the constant request we have for seller financing questions. It is a subject that takes a little bit of time to understand, but boy, when you do understand it, it's a tool you're going to continually use in real estate for the rest of your real estate life. So, Debbie, you there?
I'm here. Hi, everybody.
So you got a bunch of questions, and I'm going to answer them and probably do a little seminar along the way. And stay tuned to the end of this because we got some free events coming up we want you to know about as well.
Okay, Ron. So I spent a little time on Gold Club, and you have a couple of lesson videos on there regarding seller financing. And so we had some of our Gold Club members had some really great questions after watching the video. So let's get started with a couple of those. So first of all, who pays the taxes and insurance on a seller financing deal?
Okay, well, I think probably, first of all, Debbie, we ought to define what seller financing is.
Okay.
Because some people just don't get it. Has nothing to do with the lease option. On a lease option, you are leasing the house with an option to buy. You don't own anything except the right to buy. With seller financing, you actually own the house. Seller transfers ownership of the house to you, and you give them back a note and mortgage or a deed of trust or a land contract, all of which are devices based on where you live that your attorney prepares. You start making either the seller a payment and they pay their underlying loan if there is any, or you pay their underlying bank directly, depending on the situation. So your trust owes the seller X amount of money, the seller owes the bank X amount of money, or if the house is free and clear and you'll pay the seller and the seller will keep the money. About a third of the houses in the country are free and clear. So we do a lot of seller financing with free and clear houses. In fact, it's my favorite, absolute favorite type of financing for a lot of good reasons. And it's also where we can get really low payments and sometimes no interest as well, and all kinds of cool benefits. Plus, when I'm dealing with a human, I'm dealing with somebody that I can change the deal later as long as we both agree. It's difficult to do with a bank. So seller financing has always been my favorite type of financing, but it's really nothing more than the seller becoming the bank. Now, again, a lot of times the seller has no equity. So if I'm buying the house for what they owe, there's only two ways I can do it. I can either buy it subject to, which seems to be the craze out there right now, or I can buy it with owner financing, meaning I'm giving them back a note, mortgage, or deed of trust. Again, not with any personal liability in either case. Subject to means that the seller is just going to deed me the house and go and leave. Of course, in either case, the loan stays in their name. But in the case of subject to, they have no recourse to take the house back, and they have no proof of income. If they ever want to go buy another house and qualify for it with a subject to deal, they have no proof that that payment is being made. Whereas if I buy it with owner financing, they have all kinds of proof. It's recorded on public record, and there's a note there showing they're receiving exactly what they're paying, even though I'm paying it directly to the bank. So for that reason, I preach against buying houses subject to, and yet, I probably started that crap 35 years ago or whatever. It's been going on so long, I don't know who started it, but I bought a lot of houses subject to, but I can tell you it's not in the seller's best interest. There are a couple examples. Let's say you're buying it from the kids and the kids inherited the house and the loan's in the parent's name. I buy subject to, nobody cares. The loan has nothing to do with people selling it to me. Or let's say the seller is such a mess, they don't care, I don't care. I'll just take it subject to. The credit is shot. There's no chance they're ever going to go buy and qualify for another house. But in all other cases, I'd rather buy it with a wraparound mortgage or a wraparound deed of trust or a land contract.
So who pays the taxes and insurance?
All right. Always the buyer. Now, if you're the buyer, if you're the owner, you're responsible for the taxes and the insurance. Okay. If you're buying it and there's an underlying loan, and it has an escrow account, not your problem. You're just going to make that payment. Tax and insurance are taken care of. If you're the buyer and the house is free and clear, you and the seller have to decide, does the seller want to collect 1/12 of the taxes and insurance, or do you want to just pay them outside? It's up to you and the seller. I would prefer you put them in with a payment so that a big tax bill doesn't hit you that you can't afford, but it's still up to you and the seller. And there is a company that will collect that monthly and pay that for you and pay the underlying payment and give you a statement at the end of the year. It's called Escrow Serve. It's at ESCRO, I believe, SERV.com. For $15 a month, they do all that work for you nationwide. So you can contact them. But either way, you're a buyer, you're always paying taxes and insurance. Whether you write the check or not is not the issue, but you're still going to wind up paying them, but it's within the payment you're making.
Okay, here is a question that is an example type question. If a seller wants to seller finance for only 5 years and your buyer can't pay the loan off before that time, how can you pay the seller off?
Okay. Wow. That's the same question you just asked me on our Friday calls. Look, you give a 5-year balloon to the seller. 5 years goes by. You can't pay. Your buyer hasn't bought. The seller has two choices. Choice number one, they can take the house back. Okay. If they take the house back, they're not going to foreclose on you. You're going to give it back to them if that's what they want to do. They'll pay the closing costs, but they have every right to take the house back. And it serves you no good to make them foreclose on you. Right? Or second choice, they can extend the term. And if they extend the term, you're back to where you started, whatever term you and them agree. But remember, if you're buying a house Ron's way, you're buying it in a land trust, a grantor revocable trust, which means your trustee is signing on the note as trustee. There's no liability to the trustee. The beneficiary is nowhere even on the documents. So you're buying the house non-recourse, meaning no personal liability. And because of that, you don't need to worry about a 5-year balloon. Because of that, the seller has no personal recourse against you. They cannot affect your credit. They're not even going to sue you. You don't even exist. The trust owns the house. You may just own the trust. So if you buy it right, you can go to bed and not worry about what happens if. Besides, it ain't going to happen anyway, because you're going to find a way out of it before that 5 years is up, especially if you're paying attention, because you got somebody in the house and they've given you a big deposit. For crying out loud, you're going to make sure that their option is over well before your 5-year balloon is up, so that you have plenty of time to get that to a conclusion before the 5-year balloon is up. In other words, find out if they're ready to qualify. If they're not, maybe you can help them about a year out and get them qualified. And worst case, they don't qualify. Then, you go make a deal with the seller like I just discussed. Of course, I'd probably want to make that deal not at the end of the 5th year, but sometime maybe during the 5th year. So I know what I'm up against and how fast I got to move to try to get that buyer financed. If a bank sees that a tenant buyer has been making payments for a year or two, that's a big, giant leap toward their credibility on getting that loan approved. So there's always this solution. There's in fact several of them in this case. So don't worry about what happens if 5 years go by and you can't pay the seller.
Okay. Part of the question also, Ron, was regarding setting up a balloon with regards to the DoddFrank law. Mm-hmm. Good old DoddFrank always rears his ugly head.
Well, first of all, I probably know more about Dodd-Frank than Dodd or Frank. I've read the entire law, all 850 pages of it, I think. It was designed for banks, but yet they stuck a seller financing thing in there. But it does not apply to you, ladies and gentlemen. There's also an exclusion in there that says it doesn't even apply to you if you don't sell more than 3 houses with owner financing in a year from the same entity. I'll say that again. 3 houses in a year with seller financing, nothing to do with lease options, from the same entity. Well, let's discuss that. First of all, there's been no cases on it yet, so nobody even really knows what Dodd-Frank says, and it's been written so vague, even the attorneys can't give you a definitive answer on it. And besides, Trump pretty much put the squash on it anyway. So I'm telling you, you don't need to worry about Dodd-Frank because it doesn't apply to you, because if you take title into a land trust As far as I'm concerned, that's an entity. Okay, there's been no case on that I know of, but it is an entity. So if you got one house and one trust and you sell out a house, that trust is dead because you've sold the assets out of it. One house, one entity. I don't know how you're going to do more than 3 a year out of one entity. But hey, I'm not a lawyer, so.
Okay. Ron, can you do a balloon in Texas?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
In fact, most in Texas, you cannot do lease options. So buying and selling with owner financing is what you do. And if I sell with owner financing, I'm always going to put a balloon in it. And believe me, it don't have to be a 5-year balloon. DoddFrank says 5 years is the minimum. But remember, DoddFrank doesn't apply to you. Okay. And by the way, if I put a balloon in it and that term goes by and they haven't paid me, I'm not going to do a darn thing. I'm not going to put somebody out of a house because they haven't paid the balloon. No way. I mean, if you want to change the terms, that you could, but I just don't do that. I put people in houses, and as long as they're making that monthly payment, they can stay in there till they die or I die. I don't care. I'm not moving them.
Okay. Why would a seller charge no interest on this seller financing loan?
Well, because you, the buyer, didn't bring the subject up of interest. And if you don't make a stupid mistake and ask them, what kind of interest do you want? You'll be surprised how many sellers could care less about interest. They care about getting the house sold. They care about getting a monthly payment and getting the grief off their back and the stress relief off their back. Now, no interest only applies if the house is free and clear. Okay. If there's an underlying loan on it, you're paying interest on that underlying loan. But if there's not, that's why I like seller financing on free and clear houses so much. I'll just tell the seller, I'm going to pay you X number of dollars per month till it's paid in full. All right. So you be the seller now, Debbie. And
Okay.
you with objections to that question. You're going to say, what about interest, right?
Okay. And I will be charging interest.
Interest? Why do you need interest? Banks collect interest, and look at all that overhead they got.
Right.
You know, if you collect interest, you got to pay taxes on it. Don't you pay enough taxes as it is?
Yes, actually, I do.
What's more important to you, getting the house sold and getting a payment or getting interest?
Absolutely. Let's get it sold.
Okay, good. Well, you're easy. You sure you don't want to fight a little harder there, Mrs. Seller?
Oh
Because I'm prepared for you.
gosh, I know you are. That's why I'm giving up so easily.
Okay, so you're going to insist. You're going to insist on interest?
No, I think that's a good point right there. Just having to pay the taxes on it is enough.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you do insist on interest, I'm going to say, what do you have in mind? You're going to give me a number, and whatever it is, I'm going to say, wow, that's a lot of interest. So, Debbie, you telling me that if I don't pay you interest, you don't want to sell to me?
Yes, I really want to collect that interest.
All right. Well, if I pay you that interest, what are we going to do about this down payment? Can we eliminate it?
We could probably lower it a little bit.
What's a little? I usually buy with nothing down.
You know what, Ron? I think you have a great point there about not charging interest. Let's keep the down payment the same and let's give up the interest, and then I won't pay the taxes.
Well, I'm prepared for you all the way down the line, which is all in my manual, by the way.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
So,
all right.
The point is, we don't bring up interest. We don't make it a point. We don't suggest that they collect it. We don't even talk about it unless they bring it up. And I'm writing the contract, I write it up with no interest. And you'd be surprised. Most people just don't care about interest. And some do, most don't. And the more motivated your seller is, the less they could care about interest. They're getting that payment. And I can tell you, there's no financing I like better than when I'm paying down all principal and no interest. It goes down quick.
Sure. Okay, Ron, next question. If a seller doesn't want to let you take title subject to, would owner financing be a good option as long as we can negotiate no down payment and a monthly payment that is equal to their mortgage?
Well, the answer is yes. I actually just answered that. That's the only other way you're going to buy it is with owner financing, other than cash, of course. But no down payment is totally misunderstood. Now, we're always telling them it's already in our script. We usually buy with nothing down, okay? But please don't believe that means every house we buy is with nothing down. We don't need to get a nothing down deal to make it a deal. And the higher priced property, the more I'm willing to give them down if they insist on it. So if you're going to go through this business and the only thing you're going to buy is nothing down deals, they're going to be a whole lot less deals and you're wasting some really good money. For example, I'm buying a $300,000 house and the seller insists they got to have $10,000 down to move. Well, first of all, that's a very reasonable request. In fact, it's more than reasonable. I don't want to give them the 10, but if I get to the point where I find out the whole deal rests on that 10, I'm going to give them the 10. Why? Because I know darn well within a month after they're out, I'm going to go collect 20, 25, or 30 from a tenant buyer. So would you put up 10 to get back 25 or 30? Answer is yes. So it's not like I'm putting it in there for very long. I'm just letting the house borrow it for a little while till I go get a tenant buyer in there and get it back. And now I got a nice, big, beautiful asset. Got no money in it. Already made $15,000 or $20,000 on it. Now I got all that residual income plus that appreciation, depreciation, debt pay down, and all the reasons to own that house. So please do not be under the impression that nothing down is the only way you're going to buy a house. And I know some people are asking, well, what if I don't have the 10? Well, you might, if the house is vacant, that means it's fairly easy with the seller's permission to show it while it's under contract and maybe collect the deposit at the same time you need to buy it and put up the 10. If that's not the case, you'll find the 10, okay? You will put on your Visa card. You'll get a friend to put it up. You'll do whatever you need to do to find the 10. And that's how you learn. You open your mouth and you start asking for money on good deals. You know, like you put up the 10 and I'll pay you back $12,000 as soon as I put a tenant buyer in the house. That's a great return on that 10 grand, especially when it's only going to take a month or two. So if you're so afraid of where the 10's coming from, I can't tell you how many hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars that's going to cost you because you refuse to get over that fear. Go out and do one. Put it under contract. Make a mess. Screw it all up. And look what you're going to learn along the way. You might even get to $10,000 that you don't know where it's coming from right now.
Absolutely. Yep. Ron, I would crawl over broken glass to find $10,000 to get 25 back.
You'll find it too.
Sure. Okay. Well, Ron, that's all the questions that we had on the seller financing.
All right. Well, we got some free events coming up. You want to help me with that?
I sure do.
Okay.
Okay, guys. So we've got 3 brand new. Actually, the first one is an actual replay. It's a 5-hour event, the Turns in COVID event. So doing turns in the current situation that we're in right now. It is free, 5 hours, August 3rd. And Ron will be there to take live Q&A for that.
Yep. So it's actually the same one that I just did recently. So if you watched that one, please note it's the same one. So you either don't watch it or you just come back and get another dose of Ron, which everybody needs because it is free. But I will be there live. In other words, we're going to take questions live the whole day and I'll answer them live, but the rest will be recorded because I don't have anything different to say than I said the last time. So
you did a pretty good job the first round.
As far as you're concerned, recorded is going to work out just as well. And I've already asked Debbie to go see what shirt I'm wearing so I can wear the same one. So. All right.
So our next event that we have just added to our schedule is a brand new event. It will be held August 26th through the 28th. The name of this event is Finding Motivated Sellers in Any Market. And this is a free event as well.
This event materialized from numerous requests on where do I find the best deals. So we made up our mind. We're going to fix that question once and for all. Now, this is not just me. Okay, I'll be playing a big part in that event, but I'm going to bring in some real experts who specialize in whatever it is they do to find their sellers. Some of these people do 100 to 150 deals a year. So you're going to want to hear from them. More on them later, as soon as we get them finished lined up. So this is going to be an incredible event. Nothing ever been done like this. And you're going to see all kinds of ways, some free, some not free, some built for people who want to do 3 or 4 houses a year, some built want to do 100 houses a year. So I don't know why we're doing it free, to be honest, because I used to do an event similar to this and we charged $3,000. And during this COVID thing, we're doing this one for free. So How do you register for these things anyway?
So, well, let me just mention the very last one, Ron, and then we'll give them all the registration information for all three of the events. So the last event will be a virtual seller financing event. So this is going to be a brand new live event as well, September 16th and 17th. And Ron will be conducting this event. So right along with the finding the motivated sellers, he's going to teach you how to find them and then get them to agree to some seller financing.
Well, not only that, this is both buying and selling with owner financing. And I know some tricks you've never heard of. So this used to be a 3-day event that I did live. In fact, we charged $3,000 to get in that event. So I'm going to go back and rebuild it. And when I'm through, you'll learn not only how to approach people, but what types of seller financing, all this stuff we've been discussing, interest, no interest. And again, some tricks you better know before you sell with owner financing. So it's going to be a pretty important event to you, I think. And by the way, if you're not happy with the tuition charge, we're going to give you 3 times your money back, aren't we?
Back money guarantee.
Our unconditional guarantee, since it's free. All right. So
okay, guys. So if you would like to register for all 3 or any one of these events, you can go to thementorpodcast.com/events. That's thementorpodcast.com/events. Or you can call our office at 888-563-7214. Again, that's 888-563-7214. And they'll be happy to give you all the information about the events as well as get registered. And even though they're free, you do have to be registered because we have to be able to send you the links to join us online.
All right, Deb. So we got the events covered, I think, for now, for the next couple months anyway.
Right.
What else you want to know?
Well, I guess we should tell them as well that for the August Quick Start, we will be doing it virtual again from August 12th through the 15th. And we are going virtual with our September Quick Start as well. And after that, we hope to be gathering at live events again as well and having Nikki and the whole gang there with Ron out and about again in a city coming to you soon.
I am sure eager to get out of here and get back out there on the road, I can tell you. And get out there with real people. So I'm not talking to a screen all the time. And I'm telling you, nothing is better than being in a live event. You learn so much more. And we have so many things we can do. But anyway, we've even done a bus trip to add to this virtual boot camp now. So it's as close as we can get. So if you're interested, check on that. Call our office. And it's also at a deeply discounted price as well, as long as it's virtual.
And we are still doing all of the live deal structuring. Once you register, we will send you the instructions on how to send your leads. We'll have the mentors on hand to call your leads. If they are deals, then we will bring you live on with Ron and your mentor to discuss the deal. Ron will help you structure it right online. So,
yes.
Great event.
Okay.
Okay. All right. That's all we have, Ron.
One more thing, Debbie. We've probably got some people sitting out there right now that are seriously consider entering our mentoring program. I want to give them a phone number to call to inquire about that. It's not a hard pressure sales pitch, guys, but if you're ready to get going, and especially in this environment we're in right now, I'm telling you, I talk to students and they're doing better than they ever did before this COVID thing came along for several reasons. Sometimes a little hard to understand, but people need to sell their houses and they're more motivated now than they have been. And they're home and they're answering the telephone and they do not mind you coming into their house. So I'm telling you, I'm not have one that I need to come into their house. They're eager. They're inviting you into their house if you look like you're a buyer. So if you're interested in getting the one-on-one help you need, call 800-567-6128 and talk to them about the mentoring program and at least have all the facts. And we got financing. We got made as easy as we can for you.
Absolutely.
You're done. I'm done.
I'm done. That was great. Answered all the questions.
All right. Oh, see you on the next one.
All right. Bye, guys.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.